There's a young guy that I'm mentoring at the moment, and I give him some advice. He goes and actions it. He comes back and said, I did what you said and this happened and it's amazing. He feels amazing. I feel amazing because what I've said to him has helped him. And the simple act of giving and seeing it in action can make you feel so good.
Welcome to the We.Are.Powerful podcast, celebrating the people and teams who make the changes in themselves to transform the results for others in the organizations and communities they are part of. I'm James Russell, an organizational change consultant and coach.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex Sellers. I'm the founder of Blue Heron Training. We're on a mission to help people and improve cultures wherever we go.
So look, we're going to be talking to some truly inspiring people with powerful stories to tell. So tune in, subscribe to make sure you get alerts when new episodes are released. So welcome. Today we are talking to Tyler Lowe, who is the founder of Loving Life, a workplace wellbeing company that helps organizations create happier, healthier, and more productive teams. So welcome, Tyler.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Alex, I'll just give a bit of background about how I met Tyler, and then we'll dig into his story. I met Tyler at an event at the Motor Insurers Bureau last year. Tyler was brought in to specifically facilitate a session to talk about mental health. I was really struck by the power of the conversation that we had and the way that Tyler got us talking. And maybe it's my generation, but I'm ashamed to say at the age of 52, I don't think I've ever been to one of those kind of lunch and learn sessions where we talk about mental health. So I'm delighted that the MIB were doing it, and I thought it would be great to hear stories from Tyler about other organizations that he's working with that are doing similar things and just getting people talking. So thank you, Tyler, for coming on and agreeing to share some of that.
No problem at all. And actually, just to highlight, it's great that you attended. You mentioned not having attended any of those sessions before or not being to many, but you actually decided to come along. Something piqued your interest and you decided to come along, and just being there is the first step of it.
I agree. And I mean, Alex has shared a lot on previous episodes, and he's far more kind of advanced in his thinking, but I'm realizing that point around I'm a coach in my professional life, so I understand that naming something and talking about it is often the first step, but wow, when it comes to your own stuff, it's often quite a hard thing to do.
Yeah. It's easy to tell others and harder to do it ourselves, right?
Yeah. So Tyler, just to start us off, it would be great to hear a bit about your journey and how you came, because I think you were like studying sports science and you had a kind of an epiphany on a beach in Australia. I probably completely crucified that story, but it'd be just great to hear how you ended up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I grew up in West London, born and raised in West London, and I was very narrow-minded as a teenager. I thought that was my world and I'd never leave there. I went to university, met a friend who convinced me to go to Thailand for a couple of weeks, and it opened my mind to, wow, there's more to life than West London. And that inspired me to take a year out after university and go and live in Australia. And while I was there, I had a fantastic time, met amazing people, met people from all over the world. And again, it just really opened up my mind. And I was loving life, hence the name of my business. I really wanted to come back to London and inspire my fellow Londoners to open their minds and live happier and healthier lives. And I thought, how do I do that? So I came back and started building workshops around health and wellbeing. As you mentioned, my background was in sport and exercise rehab, so the physical side of health. And I started trying to reach out to companies to go and deliver workshops, and nobody booked me. I couldn't get any work. And this was back in 2015, back at the start of my journey. And part of my degree, I help people with their injuries and pain and discomfort. And I thought, okay, let's start with that. So I started helping people with pain and injury and discomfort, much easier to sell to individuals than organizations. And then after about a year and a half of building content, learning, researching, I managed to get into my first corporate company through a client of mine, through someone who was coming to see me through pain and injury. They worked at an organization. They said, oh, we're doing a lunch and learn. Can you come and talk? I said, yep, absolutely. And that was sort of the start of, you know, getting into an organization. And as you can imagine, that process was very long, very hard to get into organization. I think many people starting a business, one of the hardest things is sales, right? You're great at what you do. You're passionate about the message that you want to deliver. You really believe that you can impact people in positive ways. But how do you convince other people that you can do that? And it took me a while to learn how to get my message across. And then once I started to get into companies, word spread and the website picked up. And that's kind of the start of my journey.
And Tyler, some people would think, oh, I better take a safer path and go and get a 9-to-5 job and work in a company. But what made you just not choose that path?
I think there are a range of factors when I look back at it. My degree, when I came out of university, I was offered a sort of part-time role in a sports team, in a conference football team. And the salary was much lower than the retail job that I was working at the time. And I thought, I didn't go to university to earn a living in a job that the sports team was paying less than the retail job. And I thought, well, that's not right. In Australia, I was also working in a tree planting company as part of something completely random, completely different. We got paid per tree. So essentially, we were digging a hole every 2 meters, planting a tree, stomping it down to make sure it's secure, taking 2 steps, doing another one. You're planting anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 trees a day. And we were getting paid between 6 and 12 cents a tree, which, you could earn $200 to $300 a day, which was great money. And the boss at the time, I found out he was making about 50 cents a tree. Thinking, what? He's making 50 cents. We're getting, 8 cents. That's insane. I thought, well, actually, I want to be the boss. I want to, earn, be the one getting the work and actually pay my staff a fair wage and fair representation. And I'm very fortunate. Both of my parents actually were small business owners. My mum had a beauty therapy business as she was trying to raise me, and she was always working hard trying to build clients with her beauty therapy. And my dad was a builder, and he was always trying to get contracts and get work through. And he had a small van with his business name on it. And when I look back at why I set up my business, I actually think that it was what I knew. I knew that I wanted to work for myself, and I wanted to run my own business, because I guess that's what my parents had shown me. So those are things that contributed to it. But I also think traveling and living in another country helped with the confidence to come back and set it up, because confidence is a massive part of taking the leap to set up a business. And living abroad definitely helped my mindset to take the leap of faith to start my business. And I think the other thing that I want to add as well is, when I came back from Australia, I went back into a part-time retail, and it gave me the space and the time to also build on my business. I wasn't working full-time, I was working part-time. And actually I was living with my dad at the time, sleeping on his sofa while I said, Dad, can I stay on your sofa while I try and build my business? And he very fortunately let me stay on the sofa rent-free. So, I didn't have financial struggles at that time, although I wasn't earning much, but it gave me the opportunity to really give it a go. Now, although I wasn't thriving in my personal life and being able to do, whatever I could financially, I was safe. I had a roof over my head, I had food and water, and I had an opportunity to try and make it work.
Tyler, can I just... There's so many things that have to come together, aren't there, when you're taking, and it is a huge leap of faith to start your own business. And I think that maybe there's people out there who are listening to this who are considering it, or have tried it and perhaps it hasn't worked out for them. And I think that, one of the things that I've really been grateful for, and I'm more grateful for, is so I'm a university dropout. I think there's a song in there somewhere. So I dropped out of university, not once but twice actually. So I'm verging on a record. That was a long time ago, and it kind of left a void which I've always struggled to kind of fill. One of the beautiful things about setting up my own business that I'm now experiencing and being very grateful for is it's something that we've created. It's born out of passion, born out of idea. It doesn't exist before we've put the building blocks in.
Yeah.
And it's tough, right? But you mentioned earlier on, I was just picked up on this. You said the confidence to do it. And I wondered if we could drill into that. What confidence did you need? What was it? Confidence in yourself, the idea? Can we just explore that a bit, Tyler?
Yes. I mean, setting up a business is scary, or can be scary. The thought of it can be scary. But like I said, by taking on other challenges in my life, it gave me proof of concept that I can do something that I am fearful of and it will be okay. I was fearful of going to Australia and it was okay. I lived in Perth for 4 months and I could have very easily stayed in Perth. And then I thought, no, actually, I need to move on. I then moved to Melbourne for 3 months and that was scary. And I didn't know anyone in Melbourne. I met someone through someone else. I got accommodation through a friend of a friend. And these small building steps and these small acts of taking the leap of faith showed me that regardless of whatever happens, it's going to be okay. And there was actually a moment when I left Melbourne and while I was in Perth, I managed to save up, I think it was maybe about $5,000. And when I left Melbourne, I was down to about $3,000 and I decided to go and travel around the country. And I got to a position where I had about $200 left in my account. And when I was in Melbourne and I had gone from 5,000 to 3,000, I was panicking. I was thinking, well, my money's gone down. I was really fearful of it. My money's gone down. This is scary. But I traveled. I had an amazing experience traveling around. And I was due to start work and I had $200 left in my account and I had no fear at all. I was completely free. And I guess I'm just drawing on my experience from Australia here. These are things that have helped to build my personal and self-confidence over the years and having the ability to realize that no matter what, it's going to be okay. And I take this approach now in life, and every year I do a challenge. There are some physical challenges, well, physical and mental challenges. And taking on these challenges allow me to build up the self-confidence that I can do something hard and it's going to be okay. And I think most people have done something hard or done something challenging in their life. And whether it worked out or didn't work out, the end result is that they're still okay. So taking that leap of faith in setting up a business, you might do it, it might not work out, but you'll be okay. You might do it, it might not work out, but you'll learn. And in many cases, it can work out. So I think there's a whole range of things in my life that I've taken confidence from. But I think the key thing is trying things, not being worried to fail, or being worried to fail and failing anyway.
Yeah.
And being okay with it.
Yeah, I love that, Tyler. I think you mentioned fear exists, right? And I think the purpose of our chats and our discussions with people is to explore how people have done things. They've kind of moved into the unknown, right? That's what you're talking about. Whether it's through your experiences in Australia, having a few dollars in your pocket, not knowing where to go, or whether it's setting up a business. Anybody who does anything that hasn't existed before or as they haven't done before, it's a step into the unknown, which means a step into fear, right?
Yeah.
And I loved your message. There's a really famous and a very beautiful, it was a spiritual figure from Norwich back in the Black Death, I think, 1400s. And this lady spent 20 years in a room in a church in Norwich, and she meditated and focused on her beliefs and her experience of fear. This was at a time when everybody around her was dying, right? It was the Black Death. Everyone, we lost half of the population of Europe. And her saying is, all shall be well and all manner of things shall be well. And I just love that, because it's about what we do inside.
Yeah.
It's what happens in ourselves and how we process our reaction to the possibilities of failure and the possibilities of things not working out how we originally thought they might work out. And that's definitely been my experience, not just of owning my own business, but of life, right? You do one thing, it doesn't work out. Well, what's the next part of that journey, and how are you going to approach that? And what are the internal mechanisms that we can use to support us in that journey to build that confidence? The reason I focus on confidence, we get a lot of people come saying, I'd like to be more confident in this. I'd like to be more confident here, and that's such an internal mechanism, isn't it? It's about how we approach the possibilities of what can go wrong. I loved what you said, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are steps to building confidence because, people think of confidence as an overall thing. I'm a confident person. I'm not a confident person. When actually confidence is about individual things. We're all confident at something. We've all built confidence at something. And if we can take the learnings from the thing that we built confidence in and apply that same system to the things that we don't feel confident in, we can then build our confidence. And like I said, there's all you can go down to. Making toast is an example I often use, right? If you eat toast, there was a time in your life when you put the toast in the toaster, you put the setting too high and it burnt. And you thought, oh, I can't make toast, right? Then you turned the setting down, you realized, oh, actually, I just had the setting on too high and you can now make toast. Now, that is a very basic example, but the principle still applies in other aspects of life.
I think it's so powerful to have a way to break it down, to make it accessible for people. I'd love to get into your experience working in organizations where I guess you're brought in to do a talk, to do a workshop, but there'll be many common themes that organizations have with their people around. How do we get them to be more confident, be braver, take risks? Do you see some of those themes coming out in the conversations you have in organizations?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I had a conversation yesterday with someone who we're going to be doing some work with their team. And one of the themes is they want their team to be bolder and braver in taking the leap and being more confident in the ideas that they present forward. I see this across all kinds of organizations, but it's about empowering people to feel that they can take those leaps and giving them the tools. And like I said, that framework that I just gave you around toast, I mean, that's a very quick and brief example of how we can help individuals understand confidence. When people are educated and given the tools to thrive, they can then, perform their jobs to the best of their abilities. And I think many organizations don't invest enough in giving their teams the tools to achieve these things.
You would agree.
Interesting. Totally. And give us a sense of the themes that are coming up. You do some of the physical therapy for injuries, de-stressing. We talked about mental health. Are there key themes that you notice when you're talking to these organizations?
Yeah. I mean, one that we mentioned is gratitude. I think a lot of people feel that their managers don't appreciate them. Their company don't appreciate them. People often feel not heard, not listened to. And there are key themes that I touch on, whether it's gratitude, whether it's empathy, whether it's communication. These all impact how individuals think and feel. It impacts their well-being, it impacts their performance. So, yeah, these are across the board. I know we wanted to touch on gratitude this session. And I think I wanted to explain what gratitude is, because gratitude is the quality of being thankful and the readiness to show appreciation. And research suggests that those who practice gratitude live happier and healthier lives, whether that's improving their mood, reducing the chance of depression, reducing stress, or improving relationships among friends, family, and in teams. And one of the biggest reasons people leave jobs is because of their managers. And one of the reasons they might not get on with their managers don't show them enough appreciation.
And it's a fundamental human need of recognition. It's a hunger. And in transactional analysis, we call it strokes. People need, not everyone's the same, but people generally need a higher or lower number of kind of recognition. And it's not about being pat on the head and saying, oh, well done, Tyler, you're doing a great job. It's making sure that recognition is authentic and taps into what I need as a human being, and actually in the moment what would actually be really beneficial and helpful and useful to me. And I mean, Alex, we do some really fun exercises, don't we, around what Tyler just said around it, actually that act of giving gratitude, but actually that does huge things to cement relationships and build trust, and they're fundamental building blocks, but we kind of ignore them at our peril, don't we?
Yeah. I think the thing you said there, two key words, genuine and authentic. And I think that's so important, that it is genuine and it is authentic. And taking the time and space to be genuine and authentic and think about, you know, why you're grateful for that team member. I actually thought I'd share a personal story that happened recently, because I do my best to express gratitude to my team. As you mentioned, I've got a team of chair massage therapists who go into companies and deliver chair massage, help support my clients, a couple ongoing contracts. And I've got a lady who works with a client every fortnight. She goes in every fortnight to this company, and, you know, I always express gratitude to her and her work. And this year she messaged me before Christmas. Sorry, last year she messaged me before Christmas and, oh, Tyler, what's the best correspondence for you? I said, okay, what's it regarding? And she said, oh, your Christmas card, Tyler. I said, oh, sorry, I ruined it. Okay, here, send it to my home address. Here's my home address. And she didn't send me a Christmas card. She sent me a hamper. A hamper with, you know, lots of chocolates and all kinds of other stuff in it. And that, I believe, is because she feels appreciative of working with me and being part of my team. Now, I didn't expect any of that at all, but I was very, very grateful. And now that has made me feel even more grateful towards her, because she has expressed gratitude towards me. And it ends up being a continuous cycle of, wow, I really appreciate her, and I feel appreciated by her too. And this is a great place to be when it comes to your colleagues.
Yeah, before we share the reason we were both pointing at each other, Tyler, I think it's so powerful, this whole piece around gratitude, and I'd like to spend a few minutes on it. But, you know, I think it was Sigmund Freud said that, you know, every human being is looking for the sense of purpose in the world, right? And their sense of importance. So everybody is looking for where they fit, right? And I think, you know, this concept of gratitude, appreciation, paying attention, when you're expressing gratitude towards someone else, it fundamentally sees them as a human being and a person, right? And that's so powerful for so many people, you know, because even on a scale, some people will really crave validation from others, some people less so. But basically, every single one of us is looking to fit, to be part of something, to be recognized as a human person with all the things that go attached to that. And those moments when we express that gratitude are so powerful and lock in these deeper level relationships. We do a lot of work around this. A lot of our development work is based around understanding people's human needs, the things that drive human behavior, because ultimately in organizations and teams, we're trying to connect those kind of sometimes difficult to understand concepts. But actually, if you boil it down, by genuinely appreciating the work that other people do for others, really, ultimately, is all people need to form those bonds. You know, and James and I were kind of joking about hampers there. I'll let James come.
You won't have heard this episode yet, Tyler, but we went there with Daya, and I can't believe you mentioned hamper, because Alex sent me a lovely hamper for Christmas, which to our family, and I was extremely appreciative of. And I sent him a Take the Mick t-shirt. So I think there is a degree of imbalance being felt between the Sellers and Russell partnership at the moment.
So I would disagree. I'm sorry, we're hogging the podcast for a minute. But actually, I would disagree. And this is a really important point, because the T-shirt that James sent me had a little statement on it. And I'll be really open about this. It said, hold on a minute, let me overthink this. And it made me smile. And my wife turned around to me. This was Christmas Day, because we opened it under the tree. And my wife turned around to me and she said, "Wow, he really knows you." But the real point in this, but I will be expecting something bigger next year, James. The real point in this is like, what do we do that shows that we see people? And that's the bit you said in your piece earlier on, is I see you. I recognize you. I value you as a human being.
Yeah. And it's not about receiving. It's just about giving. It's not about imbalance. It's about giving and being comfortable with what we give. I mean, I've got a keynote talk on gratitude and a workshop around it. Maybe we'll touch on some examples that I've had with companies. But just recently, I'm going to be doing a talk for a company at their conference. I sent them a video on me delivering this keynote talk on gratitude. And they responded to me and said, "Oh, can you deliver this workshop to my wife?" And that's not the point, right? It's not about trying to receive gratitude. It's about what we can give and what we show. And then when we give, it opens the door and the possibility for others to do the same if they wish to. It's not about receiving, it's about what we give. And when we give, we receive. We might not receive it from the person that we gave to, but we receive it elsewhere. I'm a big believer in the power of giving. And from my personal life, you know, I feel I've experienced it. Lots of people have given to me. I continuously give, and it's just I guess the ecosystem that I live by.
And isn't that interesting that I went to I know there's a bit of tongue-in-cheek there, but there is an underlying kind of historical script to me, which is my script. It's conditioned me that it is about the material things and it's about quality and fairness. And if someone's given you this, you've got to give them that. And I never like to feel indebted to someone. But for people that aren't wired that way, just as Alex and you have described, it's just like, move past those material things and just think about, how is it really landing with someone? How does that person feel? Do they see you? Whether it's a small token of something or a more lavish gift, it's not about the material value. It's about how that person feels and do they feel seen. So I love that. Yeah. I don't feel so guilty now, Alex.
And James, I actually want to touch on you because you have given without even realizing, right? You know, this is how this whole episode has come about. I delivered a workshop that you attended, you enjoyed it, and I believe you reached out to me and said, you know, what can I do to support you? You know, how can I help? That was our first conversation. It was about giving, what you can do to give to me. Now we're here, right?
Yeah.
So
I love that, Tyler. And I'll talk about kind of a poignant, difficult point now, because I think many people will just feel the pure joy of giving and receiving and being in relationships and being with people where this happens. But there are people that do struggle with being told you're doing a great job or being given a compliment, often when that's in public. And that's something that I guess we have to deal with in workplaces and in organizations and even in families. It's how do we give, but also how do we receive those things and actually get past any sort of sense of, oh, I'm not worthy, or, oh, you've embarrassed me. You know, those will be triggers, reactions that can get in the way of actually just celebrating that lovely moment of giving and receiving gratitude.
Yeah. And everyone responds differently, as you mentioned. And you made me think of my dad, because he's not very good if I give him words. He doesn't take well and accept and say, oh, I don't need to hear it, it's fine. But if I give to him in another way, perhaps I've cooked dinner and taken it round for him, and, you know, he appreciates that. And those are other ways that I can express gratitude. He might not respond amazingly well to the verbal that I give him, although I know he appreciates it deep down, but I can appreciate him in other ways.
I think sort of expanding on what James was saying, and Tyler, I'd be really, really interested to hear your experiences in the workplace. James hit a really good point in terms of giving and gratitude, that some people just don't need as many strokes as other people do. So my experience is that there's other ways that we can give, especially in the workplace and in organizational context. It's not just necessarily about a hamper of, you know, I know we're using these almost as metaphors. And one of the things that we work with teams is, you know, time is a great gift, isn't it? You know, to give someone your time, to support, to be able to give feedback. I come across people in organizations who don't want to hurt people's feelings. They don't give feedback. But when that feedback is given so someone can grow, like, that's a beautiful gift, man. And Like, what are some of your experiences in the workplace? If you were dealing with managers of teams and leaders, what would you say to them about the things that they can give that would have the best impact for their teams?
Absolutely. And I think you touched on a few of the things there. Feedback in a constructive way. You know, sometimes managers give feedback in a blunt and matter-of-fact way, which some people appreciate. But it's about knowing the individual that you're giving the feedback to. Managers do have a difficult job in managing different personalities and different people and different upbringings. So it's about working out people as individuals and seeing them as individuals and not applying one blanket statement across all. In terms of my experience within teams, I deliver a workshop called Harnessing Gratitude, which is really a really lovely session. In fact, it's my favorite session to deliver because of the emotions that it often brings out in teams. And I'll share a quick example here. I was delivering this section for a full day workshop for a team. One of the staff members had a husband who was going for an operation, and she was not performing her best in her job role. But all of her colleagues knew what she was going through, and she was falling a little bit behind on her work. Throughout this period, her colleagues stepped in to help her, and they were constantly checking in on her, supporting her, sometimes bringing her lunch. In this workshop, one of the things that I ask attendees to think about is, what is one of the things that you're grateful for within your workplace? I get individuals to discuss it, and then those that are comfortable will open up and share. And this lady opened up and shared this experience. And she said to everyone in the team, when my husband was going through his operation, everyone was so supportive. Everyone helped cover my workloads. I know I wasn't doing the best in my job. She was owning up to the fact that she wasn't performing well in her job, which some people would have been frustrated by, right? Then she expressed her gratitude and appreciation to all of her colleagues who helped her through this difficult time. She mentioned how difficult the time was and said what the impact was of the support that her team had given her. Now, what this did was brought a whole range of tears in the room, tears of joy and appreciation. And everyone got up to hug this lady. And it was just a beautiful moment among a team from an experience that was so negative because this lady was going through a terrible time in her workplace. Her team members, to their credit, stepped up and helped them, while some probably would have been frustrated by doing so. But what this moment did was allow her to explain why she had fallen back on her workload and show her appreciation to her team for stepping in and helping in this moment. And this opened the door for an amazing moment among team members, and it was just beautiful to see.
Yeah.
And this is just one example of some of the moments that I've been fortunate enough to witness while facilitating workshops like these.
I'm going to jump in again with this whole idea of gratitude. You know, something that we've, on a personal level, but individually as a family, we've been practicing a little bit more gratitude on a daily basis. Most nights or days, I'll make a list of some things I'm truly grateful for. And it's not just the usual stuff, you know, family, health, you know, actually go in, you know, what am I really grateful for today? Yesterday was a big day for me. I popped a couple of things down, you know, that I'm just actually, I feel so blessed to have in my life. And it's those moments when we step back, don't we? Because we can go at 120 miles an hour for so long, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we just went through Christmas, and I stopped for about a week over this Christmas period, and then I was reflecting back on it. We've moved house, we've sold a property, we've had all the usual ups and downs of life. And then you stop and pause. And during that time when you're running at 150 miles an hour, it kind of crowds everything out, doesn't it? Unless you have these mechanisms in place and these healthy habits, which I love, by the way. I think that's a really great phrase. If we don't have these healthy habits, we can forget the great stuff that we've got. And sometimes I think those things are profoundly simple. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I think the same thing translates from a personal perspective. into an organizational perspective, looking at our teams. I'm so grateful. James recently, we had burst pipes, and James recently supported, and he just instantly took on some one-to-ones to lighten the load a bit. I haven't told him I'm grateful, but I am hugely grateful for that, And I think translating that into the organizational context, I haven't met any manager who hasn't wanted to do a good job. But sometimes they lack the time to step back and just focus again on what's truly important in their teams. And you've just said it perfectly. That upswell of emotion and is all about human connection and recognizing the great stuff that can happen in the workplace.
And it's part of that, Tyler, is part of that link, going back to overcoming fear and having confidence to take something on. It's part of doing what Alex has just talked about and what you shared in that example, so that it doesn't become something that happens rarely in an organization or a team or even a family, but it just becomes a healthy habit. What would be your advice to others so that they can build gratitude in as a healthy habit?
How can we reframe things into a more optimistic way? We can look at life situations and see the negatives or the positives. So how can we reframe these situations into a more optimistic light? And I think it all starts with our mind and our reframing. So I'm very fortunate in my job role. I get to go and deliver workshops for teams and companies, and some of these are around different parts of the country. Now, sometimes I need to drive maybe 2 hours to a client to deliver a workshop. Now, I dislike driving. My initial thought could be, I've got a 2-hour drive. I could look at it like that, right? But actually, how can I reframe that? Well, actually, I get to drive. I could actually battle with a 20-minute walk to the station and then get on the train. And what are the positives that I get from driving? Well, actually, I get to have my heater on. It's winter at the moment. I can stay nice and warm in my car. I get the opportunity to listen to a podcast. I don't often get the opportunity to listen to podcasts, but during my drive, I can find a podcast. I can find you guys' podcast. I can put it on. I can listen to something constructive on my drive to the client. So now, instead of thinking about, I have to drive, I'm now thinking about, I get to listen to a podcast. I'm really excited. Now, rather than dreading the drive, I'm excited for the drive. Now, this is one example that I use in my personal life, but there are many things that we can do in our own lives where we reframe from the negative to the positive. And it's about taking that moment to ask yourself, what are the benefits of doing this activity? It's Monday morning. I don't want to go to the office. I have to go to the office today. Why have they changed the policy from going to the office 1 day a week to 3 days a week? Well, actually, I get to go and see my colleagues. I get to earn a living. I get to earn the money that helps to pay for my mortgage, that helps to pay for my kids' after school clubs, whatever. You can reframe things into an optimistic and positive way, but it's asking yourself the question, how can I reframe this? What are the positives of this situation? And that's a great place for people to start to live a more optimistic and grateful life.
That's amazing, Tyler. Thank you so much. And I think that would be really useful to people listening. Alex, is there anything else you wanted to ask?
Okay, so one final question for me, Tyler. If there were 2 regular habits you could suggest for people outside of reframing, which is one, 2 more that you could suggest to help practice gratitude, appreciation in service of improving well-being, what would they be?
You touched on it briefly, but a gratitude journal is a fantastic tool to use. And that's the simple act of writing down the things that you're grateful for and reading it and saying it out loud. You're processing it in different ways. You're not only thinking about it, you're writing it, you're then reading it, you're then saying it out loud. Actually, on the website, I've got a gratitude journal prompter. Sometimes it's hard to think about what we're grateful for. You can say, what are you grateful for today? And you're thinking, I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for the kids and whatever, it's sometimes hard to think about the things that you're grateful for. But when you're asked the question, like, what is one thing that you're excited about today that you can take a positive from? Now, that's a more direct question that can allow you to be specific on the thing that you're grateful for. The second is giving. How can you give to support others? What can you do to support others? Now, I say this because when we give, you know, some people consider giving a selfish act, or giving can be seen as a selfish act, because when we give, we get so much. And if giving is a selfish act, I'm happy to be selfish. But giving can make us feel so good inside. You know, I mentor young people. There's a young guy that I'm mentoring at the moment, and I give him some advice. He goes and actions it. He comes back and said, I did what you said and this happened and it's amazing. He feels amazing. I feel amazing because what I've said to him has helped him. And the simple act of giving and seeing the benefits that you seeing it in action can make you feel so good. Whether it's buying someone food, buying someone a coffee, giving is the second message, I would say. How can you give to others? And I want to caveat this and add one more thing on this. It's giving without expectation. I think that's key to mention. Giving without expectation. You're not expecting anything in return. You're giving because you want to give, and it makes you feel good.
We have, in my program, it's something that we do on a daily basis as an instruction, is to do 2 selfless things and not get found out. And if you get found out, they don't count. Right? Do you know what I mean? And it's jokey and it's laughing, but it's so true. It forces you to give without expectation of receipt. Yeah. And for the listeners out there, those who think that letting someone in or holding a door open is fine, and that works, but don't be looking for the thank you at the end of it. And if you don't get the thank you and you find yourself getting annoyed, then keep working on your giving.
Yeah. It's those random acts of kindness, isn't it? And I love it. When I do them, I feel good, and it's not about getting appreciated. It's just thinking, actually, I did that and it was without expectation. Yeah. Lovely, Tyler. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing some of your experiences and wisdom and tips. That would be so useful. If people want to find out more about you, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, they can simply just Google Loving Life. I should come up. Loving Life, Wellbeing, Loving Life Company, Loving Life Tyler. I should come up as #1 on Google. The website is lovinglifeco.com, or reach out to me on LinkedIn, Tyler Lowe. Do send me a message with your friend request. Don't just send me a friend request, because I don't always accept, random people. So send me a message and let me know. I heard you on the podcast. I wanted to connect.
Okay. Brilliant. And in the show notes, we'll put a link to your gratitude prompt. I'm building out the We.Are.Powerful website, so Tyler will be on there with Loving Life, along with the work that I do and Alex does and others do. Really, we're trying to build that community and a place where people can go and get inspiration, but also get some of the tools and the resources that will be helpful for you to take those steps, overcome the fear, take the confidence to take something on. So thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Alex. If you like the podcast, please like, subscribe, and recommend it to others if you think it will be beneficial for them. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tyler. Absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for your time.